Okay, so now we're actually getting ready to recording, and there is something I did forget to do last time, which I should have really done. I did, but I forgot. And it was screencast keys right here. Because what this does is, in your left-hand side corner, it shows you exactly what I'm clicking, which would have been a lot more helpful last time, and I'm sorry for that. So what we're going to do now that we've got our meshes basically created, I might do some alterations. Is we're going to start making active material layers. So we're going to select the outside of the building because this is what we're going to do first, and because this is our maze, we're going to rename, and this will be called maze. And just as we did with our outline for the maze, we are going to make it invisible. So we've made that invisible now, and as you can see, um, we actually have no distinctive mesh whatsoever. So we've got this selected, and we'll go to materials. Now we're only going to be using Blender renderer, and which is up here, and that actually defines what render system you're going on. There's Blender renders, there's cycle renders, and there's Lux renders. Cycle renders you have to use nodes, so just for the sake of simplicity, we're not using Blender renders, cycle renders. And your Lux renderer is a I like it. It is good for light effects, but it does take time, and it's a little bit more complicated to set up. So, for the sake of simplicity, we will just stay with the Blender renderer. So then we're going to click New, and we're going to need about 4 different materials. So we're just going to click this plus button, New Material, plus button, New Material, and plus button, New Material. So, now, if you remember one of these, right in the center, we cheated and was not going to put down the crosshairs, the crosshair lines. But we know that that has to be see-through. So what we're going to do, we're going to give it a bluish tinge, and then we're going to go to transparency, turn it on, and we're just going to muck around with said transparency, and we're going to turn the alpha down to about 3.06, and then the specular down as well. And after this, what we're going to do, we're going to change this to not Fresnel. We just want to muck around with these because some of these settings can be quite better. It can be better. Why quite better? Yeah. So what I've done is I've turned it on render, and as you can see, there is no light in this environment. So just for sake of viewing, that's what your window is going to look like. And I've only turned on environmental lighting, which we will not be using for the final render because we want to use specific lighting effects. So we'll turn this off and go to solids, and then that is itself a separate quantity. It is separate from the other. It is separate from the other coloring systems, and as you can see, if you remember from the picture, which I'll bring up right now, which was right there, and if we have a look at it and turn texture on, there's a lot of brickwork. There is a lot of brickwork, and in order to get that brickwork easily done, is we're going to pull up a brick mesh. Now, I realize that you haven't got one prepared, so I will send you a direct link for a brick texture. And we're not going into making bump maps and that to actually make it realistic. What it basically does is it makes it inch back and forward so that your colorational gaps actually have difference, and it shows in display in the display where you can see the mortar being a groove in compared to just being one flat surface. I know some of you will say that this is tacky rendering, and yes, it is. But I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. So, yep. So I'll just pause for the moment while I go find the brick texture that I've made for other projects. So just hang tight. Yep, I'm back. So basically, now what we're going to do is we're going to go straight and select the brick pane. So the brick pane will be, we'll go to solids because you can't really see what you're selecting in texture mode. So we'll go from here, and what we'll do, we'll go to there, there. Oh wait, I've made a mistake actually. So what we're going to do is select one face at a time. So we'll select this, and then we'll click Assign to Material 02. And then what we're going to do, we're going to add a brand texture that I already created. It's just going to be a lot easier. It's I own the material, so if I'm lending it out, so it's not a big. So now what we're going to do, we're going to click open, and then we're going to, I've already copied across where it is, so we'll go to here, and now as you can see in this pane, that is our layer of bricks. Now if you go to, now here we're going to go from our default view and we're going to go to UV editing. And actually I forgot to do something. We're going to click Assign because just to make sure, I think I might have, but just checking. Then we're going to go to UV again. Then we're going to press U, as you can see in the left hand side of the first pane, and then you're going to click Unwrap. And then what's that, as you can see, it's going to unwrap. But now when we select this picture right here, the bricks, colorization, look what happens when we turn texture on. Oh no, the bricks are going the wrong way. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to make sure we're in this box, otherwise we'll be rotating that. So we'll rotate, and then we'll press 90 on the keyboard, and then we'll click S, and then we'll S on the X, GX, and now for your liking, what we'll do is you press SY, and then you choose your sizing scale that you want it to appear as on the building. Now, you're going to have to remember this sizing scale because that's probably a little bit too big. So if we go to the corners, make sure that it's the full length, and then we'll go S 0.8 on the Y, and that should be for that. So that now we're going to have to do it for all of these planes, all of these flat planes. So what we're going to do, select from there, and then go up, up, down, down, and then select here, And yes, I know I'm going to run through this as quickly as we can. So, we'll go to there, and we'll select all these faces. And the reason we're selecting these faces is because we all want them to be this bricky texture that we came up with. So, now that we've got that sorted out, now we're going to have to select a straight face plane. So a straight face plane would be from there to there and up. So that's the second one we're going to do. So we're going to go to UV editing again. And now, as you can see, this doesn't have any UV texture. So we're going to unwrap again. And then we're going to go to bricks. And if you have a look, that doesn't look too bad, but there is some coloration. So we're getting S on the Y again, and then GY, and I'm going to make sure that that lines up. Now, if we click out of that, and as you can see, it's sort of lines up. It sort of lines up at the moment. So you just keep on doing that. So, and in here, because we're here now, what we're going to do, we're going to select all these faces instead of going back to default. Well, we'll go back to default, but not yet. So we'll go up, side, and then we'll select these ones too, and then we'll click U, and we'll go unwrap, and we want bricks for pub texture, and now we're going to go S, Y, and extend it only a little bit, G, Y, and I know it's not perfect at the moment. I might perfect it, but it just depends on whether I have time or not. So now we're going to do the last one for the bricks. So we're going to go from there to there, and then we're going to go U, last one for unwrap, and then we're going to S, Y, up, G, Y, and that needs to be a little bit bigger, so now probably about that. So as you can see, our church or chapel now has this brick texture, even though it's not perfect. Like, you can muck around with making it perfect if you want, but we'll leave that as it is. And as you can, if you don't particularly like how dark that is, we'll go into here. Now, what we've done is we've added a texture map already. That was in the first step. So in the first step, we added this texture map. Now, with the colors, we need to add a redder tinge to it. And now, to see that, we click rendered. And if that's probably a little bit too red, so we'll click back, and we'll go to about there, and there we go. That looks somewhat representative. So we've got our texture brick facing. but as you can see, everything else, apart from the window that we have up at the top, has been textured. So now, now, as you can see, this hasn't been coloured, and because we're not going to be mucking around with walking inside the chapel, we're just going to have it like that. And as a result, it doesn't affect anything really. So, I'm in this video, I might actually decide to fix up some of the problems with this, because at the moment, this needs to be more defined, but that will depend on whether I have time to do so. So what we've done now is we've basically given it that reddish texture. So because it's in texture mode and it doesn't transpire what we've done in the texture editor right here, it won't actually be shown on here, so it's still the brownish texture. But if you have a look up here, it shows you a reddish texture, and also here it shows you a reddish texture. So now we're going to define what's going to be what color. And if we have a look at the basis again, there's a grayish staple point. So we're going to click go material now, and there we go. So material, it's still the same, it hasn't shown the reddish yet. So this point at the top is a grey scale. So we'll select we'll go wireframe, and then we'll click B, and then we'll go solid again. And what we'll do is we'll assign to material 03, and we want this with a greyish tinge, and we do want some sort of lines, but we want it staggered. So we could use wood as a default texture, but what I like to do sometimes is use Stuki. And sorry about the pronunciation, sometimes I do pronunciate wrong. So we'll go there, we'll add that to about there, and now if we have a look when we render, it looks somewhat to what the guide was. But we need to have the Stuki more defined, and also the size of it is out. So we're going to bring that down to 0.5, and we're going to add some noise. So we go here, new, and we're going to add some noise to our project. So we've got some noise, and as you can see, it's purple at the moment, which we don't want it purple, and this we probably put down to about 0.16, and this time we're going to make it a black. So we'll just change these parameters to 0, 0, and then we have a black noise over the top of it, which we haven't done our lines yet, but it will look okay if we don't even bother with the lines. So because I have to be somewhere at the moment, I'm going to pause the recording here and resume a little bit later. Okay, I'm back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select here and we're going to go back. Sorry, what I've done is in one of the previous tutorials I knocked this button, which is a it automatically keyframes objects and bones, which means that the original positions I had it in wanted to keep on moving from them. So as a result, I've just had to tell it no. So as you can see, on top of the now, if you remember from the original, we were going to leave this for later texturing. So what we'll do is we'll delete again, delete faces, and yes, we are editing the mesh again, so we'll click that, and you know what I forgot to do? I came back to this project, and I forgot to click start display. So there, you should be able to see my keys. So we click E and S, and then we pull forward, and then what we're going to do, going to click F, and if we remember, this face was a clock. So how we're going to sort this out, we are going to, because we can't do anything while that's moved, because we can't see it defined, so we're going to change it to flat, and then we're going to generate numbers. So Shift A, okay, so we'll pause. Okay, so we're back in here now. Because we want it directly on that face, we're going to do Shift S and cursor to select. And what we're going to do, we're going to Shift A and we're going to make text this time. Now, as you can see, that's the wrong side, and it needs to be rotated on the Y 90, 180, and then rotated on the X 90, negative, and then we pull it across. We'll get rid of the chapel website so that we can continue. Now, as you can see, that's massively too big, and we probably want to use a different font, but what we'll do, we'll edit, and we're going to turn these into numbers. So as you can see, that's a 1, but proportionate to the actual camera, it's to the actual clock, it's so we're just going to cheat this a little bit and go G Y, and we're going to pull that forward just a touch so that's above, and now we still know it's too big, so what we're going to do, we're going to bring it down to about that sizing. Now if you see, that's still a little bit too big, so we're probably about there. So then we have 1. Now, I shouldn't need to say how many different faces there are, but I'm just changing the font because it just looks tacky as it is now, and no one likes messy font. And most of your fonts just go to Windows, and they're on your C drive, and then you go to fonts, and then you've got a whole display of fonts. Now, what you can either use Comic, and Comic it's okay for what we're using. So we'll just put 1 and shift that. Then what we'll do, we'll move it GX, and we'll G Z, sorry. GY, GX again, and then we're going to click edit because we can't have 2 1s, and what we're going to do, we're going to keep on going with this until we have all the numbers set up. And just before we get too ahead of ourselves, so we'll make a color routine, we only need 1, and we'll make that black, and because it's black, it will appear black. So now, because that's material 04, we go there, and then we click Shift D, and then we're going to go down on the Z, so then we go GX. What we're trying to do is make it depictive that all the numbers are relatively apart. So we're going to go Shift D and keep on with this process until we have 12. Yeah, we know why we have 12. So I'm not going to go through that. It's just a clock, basically. Like, I could use baking effects to bake it on, but bake it on the texture, then we can remove the tats, but at the moment I don't see any problems with what we're doing for the purposes of the project. So as a result, I'm just going to keep on following through with this. I might fix up some of the dodgy edges if I have time, but I'm just going to state that it may not be possible, but it's just little things that are irking me. Like, to be honest, I am doing this a little bit of a rush project, so things are more done to a time schedule, not to how they should be done. So we'll keep on going out here, and we'll go GZ. So we'll keep on going and going and going, and we'll get to our 12, and then we'll get to actually make handles and, well, hands for the clock, sorry. Handles, what was I thinking? But so here we go. So there we go. So as you can see, I need to continue to adjust. otherwise it'll be off. And we're getting to the point where we're so there we have 11. I made a mistake while doing that last one. So as you can see, these are not even, and them not being even is actually a little bit of a problem. Like, so what we'll do, we'll center all these on the points, and now you see why there are a certain amount of points there, so that you can just, when you get to this point, just line up everything and make sure it's the numbers are on these points. Yeah, it's another cheat way, but he's counting. So what we've done is we've just made our clock that is on top of this main building. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move the hand. Well, we're going to make the hands. So again, what we want to do, want to select this phase, and because we've already selected it, we don't have to select again, and the cursor to selected. And what we're going to do, we're going to Shift A, and we're going to make a circle. And as always, our circle likes to be rotated on the wrong plane, so we're going to go to Edit and rotate that on the X and rotate it 90. It doesn't matter where. And then we're going to go S, S, S. Now, click out once you're inside, and I've actually pressed A. So, that's probably the size of what we want our knob to be. Yeah, it doesn't make sense now, but the knob is actually how your handles are going to hook on. So as you can see now, it's too small to do anything. So we're going to go S and then size it to 10, like we did before. Now, as you can see, we have this massive yeah, I should have paused, sorry, I'm gonna have to cut that out of the video, but I'll get there, so we'll get control, and what we want is to, now, if we remember, there will be two of these, so what we're going to do, we're going to scale these on the Y, and the main reason we're doing this in this sort of scale is so that we can make a brand new one. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then we're going to go 3, and then we're going to click E, S, and because we do not want to shrink it on the Y axis, we go Shift Y, and then as you can see, we've got this little in-groove. So the reason we're using this in-groove is because this is where our handles are going to be. So we have our minute hand and we have our hour hand. And then we're going to smooth out the other ones. This, like, I don't mind. But because this is really not this massive detail factor, it's just there so that it looks somewhat appropriate. So, okay, so what we've done is we've made those inner grooves now. So what we're going to do, we're going to go around here and we're going to start shaping the point. So if we have a look, well, we won't have a look, but we know that it expands outwards first. So we go E, and then we go to the Y, extend some more, and because I'm in the area space, that's why I was doing that. So we go S again, and then EY, and then we'll extend that, and EY again, and we'll make it slightly bigger this time. We'll actually shrink it, sorry. And then what we'll do, we'll make it go 2 points. So we'll shrink, and then we'll go E again, and then keep on going until we get it to a point. Now, Alt M at center, and then that's going to be our hook face. Now, if we remember, that was going to be material 04, and as you can see, that's too dark, so we're not going to have that material 04. We're going to make new material, and this one is going to actually be a grey, so we want it about there. Now, yes, I know it's not smooth, we can fix that by doing that, but for the sake of the purpose of this render, what we're going to do so now we're going to cut down the middle and split that in two, then SY, and do the same on this one, then SY again, and then we're going to select the inner ring. Now, we're selecting the inner ring so that we don't have problems later on, but as you know, it will be easier this way. So we'll keep on going like this, add some of the inner rings, and then we'll click E, and then Shift S, well S, and then we go Shift Y, because, and we want this one to come out, and because this is going to be the minute's hand, we're going to select and then click E and Y, and then as you can see at the moment it's just a weird thing, so we're going to expand this out to, going to just select these edges again and then click E, and then along the X, and then SZ, and then what we're going to do is pull this back, so, and then we're going to expand, wait, I clicked A, so We're going to expand it on this set again, and then we're going to start making our point for our triangle. So we're going to pull forward, and then pull this forward again, and pull this one forward. So then we've got our triangular face, and I'll just pause here for a moment. So what we'll do is if you can see, it looks like a weird triangle at the moment. So, and that's because I expanded one extra face that I didn't need to. So we'll delete these faces. We'll pull these two vertices up. And then we'll click E, we'll X, and this will now be the new point for our triangle, for our, not triangle, for our arrow. So we'll F, and we'll F again, F, and then we'll select here, here, and here, go F again, go F again, so there we go, we've got our first triangle. And now, if you remember, all of this was too high a scale, so we go S 0.1, and we will have to reposition it, but we'll do scaling later, because we need the other hand. So we'll select this one, and we'll do the same, but this is going to be our minute hand, so it will be a lot longer pad. So we're going to click E, we're going to S, and we're going to make sure that it doesn't expand on the Z. And as you can see, that's too big, so S on, so it doesn't expand on the Y, sorry. And then what we're going to do, so that we have a perfect symbol representation of how we want it, we're going to select the top and go straight up. So this one needs to be a lot longer than the minute hand, well, than the hour hand, sorry. So we're going to click E and then Z, and then select the edges, and we're going to start pulling these out. Pull that down like that. Do the same to this side. So as you can see, we pull it right to there, and then we pull the middle one, which I should have done with the last one, which would have been a lot easier than what I did to make a point. But yeah, I have done this many times. I should know better. Um, oh, what we forgot to do, we forgot to scale it down to the right scale again. Um, so what we'll do, we'll move this in there, and we'll make sure that it's center on. And as you can see, it's a little bit high in scale, so we need to bring that forward a little bit. And there we go. It all works out. So as you can see, the time on the clock will be set as 3 o'clock. So there we've got our clock facing, and what we're going to do, we're going to select this again, going to come to about there, and then we're going to use that nifty knife tool that we were using before, and click and make sure it lines up, otherwise again, issues. So we'll go OK, and how you know it lines up, it'll snap, and it'll have a red cursor on the outside and green on the inside, and then you select and click enter, and then you have a straight line straight through. Now, as you can see, this line on this face is a little bit skewed, but that's because when I set it up, I was making sure that we had a nice circle for our clock. So how we rectify this, the easiest way to rectify this, S, set, and set to 0, and it's flat again. So there we go. We have a flat down the bottom, and the reason this is important is because it's because only the top bit will be the brickwork. Now with these we need to project from view, because otherwise we get a weird map, and yeah, with a weird map it's going to be terrible mapping, and because it's not flat it's going to skew, and yeah, everything's not going to look that great. So we're going to go back to this red texture that we had for the base that we set up earlier. If you remember, we set up a red texture, and so what we're going to do now is, as you can see, we've already got it mapped around the building for those parts, so we're going to go press 1 and then rotate it till it's flat, and then we're going to click U and project from view, and then we're going to scale that up, and then we're going to go bricks from pub, and so yep, so we make sure that's flat, and then we're going to do the same with this one. We're going to go U and project from view, and as you can see, that's not perfect. There we go, that's perfect. So we go U now and project from view. Otherwise we don't have a square, and with not having a square we have problems. and we don't want problems in the render. So we go G and try to make it middle. So we'll go about there, and then we'll go to bricks. So we'll go there. So I've been silent for a little bit, so I'm just selecting the outside and I'm matching it so that it's all the meshes, all the out overlays for the bricks will be the same. So if we S on the X, that brings us to about there, and then G on X. So GY. So then we'll go SY. we go. What we've done is we've expanded it, and we'll go to bricks for pub, and there we go. So we've now got our official colouring for the actual brick part of that. So now we'll go back to default, and the rest will actually be coming up with our own meshes for own colouring style for it. Now I miscalculated earlier when I said we only need 4. We need 5, because we need 1 for the clock, and everything else after the clock will be slightly different. So we're going to select everything on here, then we're going to do instead of moving everything else, what we're going to do is we're just going to move the clock. We're going to then select this phase, go to material sets and assign. So now all that will remain as it is as white. So we're going to go to textured, and then if you can see, that's a nice white, but in order to get white on an actual render scene, we need to change it slightly. So this white, it's a very chalky white. So what we want is, we'll add a little bit of noise. Now, as before, we'll put it up to 4.7. We'll then put it to grey, and then we have all these pigmentations that can be openly seen. Then after this, we'll have clouds. So clouds, then we'll make the size smaller, we'll go increase nebula, and we'll go down to about there, and we'll make it there. And after that, what we've done is we're effectively making layers so that when we render it, it will look somewhat realistic. So I hope that I've done this to the right one. Otherwise, I'm gonna be not happy. And no, I did not do it to the right one. So what we're gonna do is select this, and then reassign this, and then select, and we're going to move the whole other one because I forgot to change the material that I had selected. So there we go, we've got that, and now we're going to select that and reassign it all there. So now when we go to this point and click render, we will have this grassy texture right here. And as you can see, I've done one. I forgot to convert these over to the right, to the different colors, so they didn't come across yet. So what we'll do that now, assign to there, and then once we render now, those should all be colored, as you can see. Now just because that's what we're actually doing at the moment, I'm going to leave that as it is. I could do some polishing, but it's just trying to get everything done in a certain time basis. So then with these, what we want is we want to click new, and then we'll click with this we're going to actually go wooden, but of course it's not wood, so we're going to go saw, we're going to make sure that that's there, increase Y and increase Z. And the reason we're doing that is so that it spans on the Y and X axis. And then we want this on a grey value, and then we should have a look at how that looks rendered just before we keep on going. And if we muck around with these a lot, we get different kinds of textures. So what we want is we are going to go Lambert, and yeah, it's not really changing. So what we need to do is make that about there, too grey, probably about there, and that's about the colouring we want. So now what we're going to do is that's the colour that we're going to stick to, and I've just tried it out on one, so we're just going to apply that to all the others. So what we need to do is select this, and as you can tell, it's too white. That's too white, so we need to bring that down a little bit. And that actually doesn't look too bad, but there should be some more detailing on it. So we'll go about there. I'd say that's somewhat okay. Realistically, if I would probably go on changing that a little bit more, but yeah. So that's how that looks at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll move these three. Make sure you only select the doors of wires. So what we're going to do is the doors are going to be actual cream. So how we're going to do this one, we're going to actually make some Stuki and a Verona effect. Now, Verona effect, so we're going to pull these down, go to colour, move it down to there, go here, change some of the settings. Yes, I put everything there. This one we actually want a little bit of an oakishly grey colour, but as you see I haven't changed the other one yet, and it's emitting the purple onto the value. So this one we only want very lightly, but you still don't want it there, and this one will be there. We can pull it down to about there, and then that will be the colour of the doors. So we go and put that material 8, material 8, material 8, material 8, and then material 8. So if you can see what the problem is when I'm going through this, they're not even. They are nowhere near even, so about there. That's even. So now that we've started with the doors, we should probably have a look how that actually looks rendered. That was material tab, sorry. Now, as you can see, that doesn't actually look too bad. But, as you can see, we're going through objects to get there. And, as you can see, that's a little bit too much of a bright colour. So, we're going to have to tone it down on how yellow it is. So instead of it being there, we go there, and that is a lot better. So we're going to leave that as that is and create a new material, and we should get out of here, otherwise it'll take forever. So for this one, we probably want a just so that now all these are set up at the same, and if we go rendered, then we have this massively bright shadowing doorway, but it's too bright. So if we make turn now, here are settings I haven't mucked around with in this render before. So we'll go to ambience and we'll turn that down to 0.2. And then what we'll do, because that's so low, we'll go here, and it's too dark again. So we'll go to about, let's try 0.8. All it is a matter of feeling what's right. That's right for what we want. So then we go, we accept that, we go close that, and now all we've got for the colouring is the maze, which we deactivated from selection before. Now, as you can see, that's just raised everything up. So what we're going to do, we're going to go wireframe and press B, select all, and then we're going to click set origin, origin to geometry to origin, and what we've done is I've mucked up. So we're going to set origin geometry to origin and origin to geometry, and that means that everything's been correctly done. So we'll pull down and we'll make sure that this is in the center of our map. Yep. And how we tell that's the center of the map is it may not be directly center, but that's where all pivotal points merge. So then we rotate it on the X and we go 180. So then we pull down, we don't want it floating, and we don't want it through the floorboard either. So if we go about that, that should be okay. That should be where we want it, and then we click smooth, and then everything is smooth for us, and then we don't have the problem. Now, because we're dealing with the maze, we probably want a couple of colouring features in the maze. We are going to decide on what sort of maze features we want. Now, for cheating, well, for the sake of this video, I'll do something different. So I'll pause now. So we're just resuming now. And what I've done is I have grabbed a new image. Now this one is just a basic leaves. So we'll go into here, open image, and then comes the fun part. We start mapping. So now we click edit, and what we want to do, we want to select all the front facing sectors. And the reason for this is because this is what we're going to be UV mapping. We're not going to be UV mapping anything else. So we keep on going until we select all these frontal faces. It'll be worth it in the long run, but it is going to take time. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause it again and then come back when I have finished. So this is the colouring for the map I chose to decide. I was originally going to do face by linear face, but I decided that wasn't the best idea, and this actually looks pretty cool as a map. So you can be the judge of it later on, but at the moment this will conclude the end of episode 2. So in the next one we will actually go and trace through the process of setting up the renders, setting up the videos internally, and also doing the audio visual elements. This is me. I'll sign off.